At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
Welcome to the Author Brand Show. I'm your host, Doug Crowe, and you're going to want to take notes because I got a very special guest on today. And this is not a book about nonfiction or business. It's a little different today. We're going to talk about something that's near and dear to my heart, which is actually children's literature. And I've got a guest on today who he grew up, and this is the old joke about, how poor were you? I'm so poor, I had to make up my own toys in my brain, right? He didn't have any toys. He was so broke. He had to just use his imagination as his playground, which at the time might have been, tragic, or maybe it was like expected. We'll find out when we talk to him. And his outdoors is a magical place, and it got transferred into his mind, and now is in a children's book. And we're going to hear more about that from our good friend and guest today. His pen name is Deacon Xavier. Can I say your real name? Is that okay?
That's fine.
His real name is Justin Ryan. Okay, just so you know. Anyway, I'm going to just say Justin for the purpose of the show because that's how I know you. So,
That's
Justin,
fine.
welcome to the show today.
Oh, thanks. Thanks for taking time, Doug. I'm super excited to kind of share a little bit about myself and the world I created.
Yeah, I love that. It's funny when I talk a lot about nonfiction works, and somebody posted on social media the other day, what would you recommend for nonfiction authors? My first recommendation is to read fiction books and understand storytelling and tension and arcs and character development. When you understand those things, you're a better author, a better writer even for nonfiction. But today we're going to talk about kids' books, which, my gosh, what an adventure this was for you. So tell us your background, what you were doing in life and business, and how you got involved with writing a kids' book.
Yeah, so, as Doug said, when I grew up, didn't have the toys, didn't have the technology, unfortunately, family didn't have those resources. So the outdoors, right, the woods, the wilderness, and my imagination is what I used every day. And if you ask my wife, I just never grew up. She doesn't have 3 kids; she has 4. And so, with the kiddos and everything, I was always making up stories, right? I would read them books, but I'd also make up like stories on the fly, like, Dad, tell me a story. And so I would just make up random stories. Well, eventually one stuck, and that's the Rogue Gnome. But with anything, it just took time to develop. And to be quite frank, like, I kind of got to a point where I just shelved it. I said, I can't do it. I can't finish it. I don't know where to go with it. And I didn't really think about it again for a while. So then one day my daughter comes up to me and says, Dad, what happened to the book? And I was like, oh, sweetheart, sometimes you just got to let things go. It was fun, but Dad just can't do it. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do, little bear. I don't know what to do with this anymore. And so she was like, no, Dad, you got it. You got to finish it. And so I reached out to Doug and I said, Doug, I was like, I need some help. I was like, I know you help people write books, and I don't know where to go with this thing. I just don't like it. It's not all coming together like I thought it would. In my head, it works great. In my mind, it's there. But getting it from my mind to the paper was the struggle. And so Doug tells me, he said, Justin, read the book to your kids, work with your kids, have the kids help you write the book. Yeah. And I said, okay. and so then the process began all over again. So we would read a chapter in the book, and I made little worksheets for the kids. And I said, what do you think this character looks like? Right? How do you think this character sounds? How do you think this character acts? And then ask them what they thought. Like, did you like that? Is that good? Or do you think we should do something a little different? Yeah. And so it became a collaboration, and it took a while because getting them to sit down and pay attention. And then after each chapter, I would turn around, do any rewrites, any edits, and all that. Yeah. And eventually, the Rogue Gnome came to life. And so now what was in my mind is on paper and available for kids and families out there to enjoy as much as I had. So it's really, it's an awesome experience. Like, I definitely really enjoyed it. And having that time with the kids and taking your recommendation to do that, I mean, that was kind of the final piece of the puzzle. That's what allowed me to put it all together.
You know what's fascinating about this as I'm listening to you speak is like I have a lot of memories raising my kids, doing things with them, going on vacations. And then after those events are over, years later, what do we have? We have memories which are fuzzy and two-dimensional or one-dimensional, maybe some photos or videos. But here you are spending that time with your children and crafting a book together. And then when that's over, you guys have a tangible thing. You come, oh, remember when we wrote that chapter? Yeah, I was 8, now I'm 18 or whatever. And there's a lot of connection with your heritage and your family at an early age that will last for a long time, your whole life, their life for sure.
Yeah. No, and you really hit on it because I think we have so many experiences in life. And if I'm being honest, and I hope I'm wrong, but I think the bad ones stick a little bit better than the good ones. But when you write about it, right? When you write, like when you journal about it or you write about a vacation and you pull that journal out, right? Or in this case, the book that we wrote together,
All right.
like it takes you back. Like it's like a link. You click it and then you're back in that moment and you can feel like the emotion and the memory and you start thinking about like, oh man, and all of this and that and the other. But otherwise, a lot of times, when those things don't get written down or a photo's not taken, we've got so much coming in here, right? And so much coming out of here. Like you can't keep it all. It's impossible, So, like you said, I think that's super awesome that, one day when I'm no longer here, maybe their kids can learn about, grandpa, right? And how they wrote this book with me. So, it's something that'll always be there. So super excited about that.
I love that. I love that. So you told me earlier before we started the show about the thesis here. You've got the whole world of gnomes, right? The garden gnomes. And we don't want to take a lot of time, but give me like the 2-minute version of this world. And I think you got a Santa reference there as well. So give us the gist of the world here.
Okay. So the Rogue Gnome takes place in Gnomedom. But before the gnomes resided in Gnomedom, what the world didn't know is that gnomes made all the toys. So eventually the work became too much for the gnomes and Santa had to sit down and say, hey, Patrick the Patriarch, I got to let you go. I'm going to replace you with the elves. But to make sure you don't do anything to harm Christmas, I'm going to snap your memory. Okay? So all the gnomes lost their memory except for Patrick the Patriarch, and they were banished to the kingdom of Gnomedom.
Yeah.
And so this story is about the one gnome, the Rogue Gnome, that found out the truth and how he wants to build a team, right, to take back the North Pole, right? But
it's a battle.
In Gnomedom, like curiosity is frowned upon, and so he doesn't know who he can trust. And if he trusts the wrong person, like he can be banished or worse. So like he has this truth that he knows he needs help to realize, but he's like, oh man, how am I going to do this? Who am I going to trust? And so it's about how he builds the team. And then once the team finally comes together, like all the adventures that, take them throughout all of Gnome, right? So they go from the Great Garden into the barren canyons, into the Great Gnome Fjords, and finally into the Gnomal Desert. And along the way, there's going to be a lot of fun and fascinating creatures that they run into, some that they don't want to run into, and some that they do. So, but it's just a really fun story, and I think kids will really enjoy it, and just puts a whole different spin because I don't want to give anything away, but you'll see how it all ties back to the gnomes we know in our world, and how it ties into the story of the Rogue Gnome and Gnomedom.
I love that. You've already described like the important elements of a story, right? We've got character development, tension with the bad characters, whatnot, conflict resolution. Very nicely done. What about the I'd like to know what your kids did as you're consulting with them and collaborating on this book. What changes they made that surprised you or maybe didn't surprise you? What changes did they bring to the table?
Oh, I mean, honestly, it's a completely different book. So much.
Nice.
It really, like, I wrote a lot of versions of this book, and I was constantly editing and changing, and like I said, that's why I came to you. But when I finally sat down with them, it's funny because, they say through like the eyes of a child, you see the world differently, right?
Yep.
And so what I was thinking, like what I was trying to say, like they're like, "What? No, Dad, that's not how you say that." So what you want to do, right? We want our character to do this, right? And so they
Yeah.
kind of took ownership, like our character, like so it's no longer just mine,
Yep.
and they'll make sure to remind me of that forever. But yeah, it was just a lot of things. It was the how the characters would interact with one another, right?
Mhm.
And what they would say, and like the kids came up with like little games they would play. Well, Dad, what if they played this game, right? I was like, oh, okay, well, let's try and make that happen. So, in the story, you'll be introduced to some games that are only in Gnomedom, but
Uh-huh.
could possibly be played in our world too. So they created some new games, and also like the imagery. They really helped me. Like, this is how I see them. And
Yeah.
so once I had an image of how they wanted the character to be portrayed, it helped me write better. Right? Like, I'm
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
Well, then he would have to do this differently, or he wouldn't say
Sure.
that. So it was really a team effort, honestly.
Yeah.
So like I did all the writing, but their imagination tied in with Dad's came out really well. So
That's
I'm super excited about it.
terrific. Terrific. And you got someone to illustrate as well, then, or how'd you do the illustration part, or no?
Good old AI. So basically went in and started utilizing some AI graphics.
Yeah.
And so you would basically just type, okay, I want this, and it would generate an image, and then
Hmm.
it was never right.
Yeah.
So you would type it like a million different ways, trying to get what you want
Hmm.
from your mind to get generated by the AI image. So
Nice.
eventually, we got a lot of really cool characters. I'm super excited with how all the main characters turned out. They
Yeah.
are amazing. Like it took a while, but it really nailed it. And I think they're going to be fun characters that the kids are going to love. And I referenced some of the creatures. I don't want to give too much away about that, but there's some
Okay.
really cool and unique creatures that you've never seen or heard of,
Hmm.
and I think you're going to really enjoy them as well.
Nice. I can't wait. I can't wait. Is it done? Is it published yet, or where you're going with the
It's done. It's done. It's
done?
done.
Okay, great.
Out. It has been published. I did the self-publish
Great.
through Amazon with Kindle,
Hmm.
so it's available in paperback and then also digital format with the Kindle.
Nice.
That's where it's at right now.
Okay.
And like I said, hopefully we get a good audience and people really enjoy it. And
Right.
the really cool thing about it is Doug also gave me some other great advice. Is that this story doesn't end. It's just the beginning. So I've started working on some of the additional adventures.
Nice.
So all these fun characters that grow together and go through all of
Hmm.
these different things. They're not done doing good. So they're going to have a lot of fun adventures ahead of them.
Fun adventures, playing games that could also become mobile app games that the kids could play,
Uh huh.
or board games, whatever. I'm thinking product stuff here, and the series. Man,
Yeah.
you can go hog wild with this, as long as you continually get feedback from your readers, right, the audience, your kids, to
Yeah.
collaborate with you on these things.
Mhm.
It's a brilliant concept. What's the name of the book? The title?
The Rogue Gnome.
The World Gnome.
No, the Rogue. Like to go rogue. The Rogue Gnome.
The Road Gnome.
Rogue. Rogue,
Rogue.
like Rogue the X-Man.
The Rogue Gnome.
Yes.
Easy for me to say, not here. The
Yeah.
Rogue Gnome, available on Amazon. So are you gonna do an audio version too?
I hadn't thought about that, but Doug, you just keep coming with all the great ideas.
Sorry,
Oh,
audiobooks have double-digit growth rate right now.
Doug's the man.
Double-digit growth. Everything else is growing, but audiobooks, way up.
Oh, I believe it. I'm pro audiobooks. When I was
Yeah,
on the road as a district manager, that's what it was all day.
that's
Right?
right.
That's what got me from store to store, location to location.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm definitely a big fan of the audio version.
So yeah, I've got a bunch of people that narrate. The AI narration is a little bit wonky right now. Sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
Amazon just allowed our company to be beta testers on the AI voice. So we
Hmm.
did about 4 books of that. I got to go back and now listen to it, see if I like it or not. But an audiobook would be great for the kids, obviously, because a lot of
Yeah.
times when people get that, especially with the kids book, they'll probably get the companion book. They'll get the hardcover
Oh,
with the audio.
yeah.
They can listen as they read. it really helps with the learning ability, right? With learning how to read
Right.
by listening as you're reading it. So
Right.
multi thing.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah. And the product placement, yeah, keep that going in the game thing. I think that'd be really good. I think I might have mentioned to you when my kids are growing up, this is before the internet was big, but they were playing a game on the computer, like for hours at a time. Like, what is this thing, right? There was some creature thing. I don't know what it was. And I'm a business guy. I'm looking at the game going, there's a lot of tech behind this thing. I don't see any paywall. I don't see anything that's monetizing this stuff. This is interesting to me.
Right.
9 months later, they said, hey, we're going to announce plush toys for this game.
Oh.
And I checked out the number of players on it. It was in the millions of kids playing it.
Wow.
So they pulled basically a Facebook move. They built their audience up, or Zoom. They built their whole audience up for free and then dropped the money thing after the audience was there.
Okay.
So I don't mean you to rush into any products or games right now. Build that audience up, but keep that stuff in your mind, because you can always drop that in there even after it's printed. You could drop it in as a, update or something.
No, that's brilliant. No, honestly, in the back of my mind, merchandising was always like,
it's there.
These are fun characters. These are toys, right?
Yeah, right.
I mean, these are the toys that I didn't have, right? That I created with my mind that now kids can actually physically hold. So, I agree 100% that. And like I said, some of the fun games that me and the kids came up with would actually do well in the real world.
Good.
So,
good.
I'm excited to see how people respond to the book, and then that audience builds up. The merchandise will be coming right behind.
Yeah. Get the kids to take it to school and give out some copies to teachers and administrators there, see if you can get it in at least your school to get started. And then you can go from there.
Yeah. No. Absolutely. So I do know the librarian.
That's good. That'll help. That's great.
Holder.
Yeah. Then the next series of books, right? Number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can write those yourself, certainly.
Right.
You could also, just give you more ideas here. You could also, I think we talked about building a community with parental permission of those kids to, why don't you suggest a character? You suggest a storyline, and you put that into a, Facebook group or something, and have them start collaborating, contributing. It lightens your workload by 90%, and you could even sell sponsorships. Like if you name a character and cost you $100 or something, you could actually have them help crowdfund the next few books if you wanted to.
Very cool. Yeah, no, I think that's great. And like I said, this book would have never got finished if it wasn't for collaborating with the kiddos. So the more collaboration, as far as I'm concerned, the better. And then also, you got folks that are interested in the adventure to come, right? Because why? Because they help create the adventure. They wanted to see this character, go on an adventure, or maybe multiple characters traveling with the whole team. Who knows? But the way that it's written and with the different skills and abilities that these characters develop throughout the book, they are ready for some more action.
Terrific. When you're ready, you let me know if it's this book or next book. I happen to be connected to what's called a showrunner for kids programming over at Netflix.
Oh, wow. So
that's the next step for you. You have to get the book, some traction on there, and some book sales and readership and whatnot.
Right.
I can introduce you to this gal. She's smart as a whip, and that's what she does, programming for Netflix. So
that's awesome.
It's a possibility. She does bunch of shows that your kids know there, I'm sure. So.
Okay, very cool. Very cool. And I'd absolutely appreciate that, Doug. You've been nothing but awesome. So anybody that doesn't know, Doug is the man.
Well, my youngest daughter is going to be a librarian. She was a teacher for a while, so it's near and dear to my heart, obviously books and kids. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, that's terrific. Yeah. All right. It's called The Rogue Gnome, spelling the way you can spell Rogue and Gnome. If you don't, you go back to school and learn how to do that. And my gosh, Deacon Xavier, also known as Justin Ryan. Did you put your kid's name as co-author on the book then, or what?
Oh, now I needed one more bit of advice before. They're going on the next one. There's more adventures to come.
You do a second edition and put them in there.
I will.
They got to give, that's going to give them that fuel of, I'm a published author.
Yeah.
Think about that. When they go to, how old are they?
They're 10 and 11.
Yeah. College is around the corner.
Oh.
and you put on their resume, or they put on their resume, published author,
Boom.
and you got a series of books there that you and your dad wrote.
All right.
You're going to stand out in those college applications if that's interesting to them. I don't know, but
no, honestly, yeah. No, they're both sharp. They're too smart, actually. So college is definitely not going to be a problem for either of them. They just have to figure out what direction they're going to go with it.
That's
so,
right.
But
let them be free and have fun.
University bound is inevitable.
Yep. Terrific. Man, it's great talking to you again. Congratulations on the book. It's called The Rogue Gnome. And if you can't spell or can't hear my voice, click below here. You'll see the link to his book, available on Amazon and the future bookstores as well. So, Justin Xavier, it's great to see you again.
Great to see you too, Doug.
Okay. Sounds good. Thanks. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.